There's a certain type of person who doesn't show their true face at first. They can smile at you, make you laugh, and make you feel like you've found a true friend. But underneath, they are a storm. And here's the danger. Evil rarely announces itself with a thunderclap. It comes quietly. It hides in charm. It cloaks itself in good intentions. We all like to think we'd recognize evil immediately, that it would wear black, carry a warning label. But in real life, the most dangerous people are often the ones who look ordinary, even trustworthy. And when you don't know the signs, you risk giving them access to your life, your trust, and your peace of mind. Today, I want to give you the tools to protect yourself. Powerful truths to help you recognize and stand strong against anyone who intends to harm, control, or destroy. There is a particular tactic that those with destructive intentions seem to master better than almost anything else. They know how to take something sacred, your trust, and turn it into the very weapon they will later use against you. At first, it feels like you found someone reliable, someone who has your back no matter what. They listen closely, they nod in all the right places, and they make you believe your secrets are safe with them. You share your struggles, your fears, even your dreams, thinking you found a person who will protect them. But they are not protecting them, they are collecting them. Trust is one of the most beautiful currencies in human connection. It is the bridge that lets love, friendship, and collaboration flow freely between two people. But that bridge is also the most dangerous place to stand if the other person's intent is not pure. Because the moment you let them cross into your inner world, they know exactly where the cracks are. And they don't rush to repair those cracks. They wait, they study, they plan. What makes this so dangerous is how good they are at keeping up appearances. You rarely see the betrayal coming. They will still laugh with you, still speak kindly to your face, even while they're setting the trap. And because you trusted them, your guard is down. They know how to twist your words in ways that serve them. They can use your fears to control you, your hopes to bait you, and your vulnerabilities to keep you exactly where they want you. It's like giving someone the keys to your home, only to find they've been making copies for strangers behind your back. By the time you realize what's happening, the damage is already deep, and often you blame yourself for letting it happen. That's the cruelest part. They don't just take advantage of your trust, they make you feel foolish for offering it in the first place. But here's the truth you need to hold on to. The problem was never that you trusted. Trust is not weakness. The problem is that you gave it too quickly, before it was truly earned. Healthy trust grows slowly. It is built through small moments of consistency, of action-matching words, of integrity proven under pressure. If someone rushes to demand your trust or becomes offended when you protect it, that is not love or friendship. That is a red flag. Your trust is not a gift you hand over in one moment. It's a garden you allow people to enter only after they've shown they will water it, not burn it. When you learn to guard that garden, you're not becoming cynical, you're becoming wise. And wisdom will protect you from those who smile like friends, but think like enemies. You remember what you saw. You remember what you heard. You remember the way it made you feel, the weight in your chest, the knot in your stomach, the sharp clarity of the moment. But when you confront them, they look you straight in the eye and tell you, that never happened. At first you think maybe you misunderstood. Maybe your memory is flawed. We all forget details, don't we? So you let it slide. But then it happens again and again. And slowly, you start to wonder if the ground you're standing on is as solid as you thought. This is not just lying. This is the systematic twisting of your reality until you can no longer trust your own perception. They tell you that the argument you clearly recall was never that bad. They insist the hurtful comment you know you heard was just a joke. They take moments that felt clear and undeniable to you and wrap them in doubt. And the human mind, for all its strength, is surprisingly vulnerable to doubt when it's fed to us over time. The danger here is that the erosion happens gradually. It's not one big dramatic moment where you suddenly realize you've been deceived. It's a series of small shifts, a little rewriting of history here, a slight dismissal of your feelings there. You start to think, maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe I can't trust my own judgment. And that is exactly what they want. Because once you doubt yourself, you become easier to control. You start leaning on their version of events instead of your own. You start asking them what's true. When someone can make you question the very things you've lived and experienced, they have taken away the most fundamental form of freedom, your trust in your own mind. And when you no longer feel certain about what's real, they can insert any reality they choose. They can make themselves look like the victim, the hero, the savior. They can make you feel responsible for things that were never your fault. They can keep you in place, not with chains, but with confusion. The truth is, clarity is one of the most precious resources you have. It is your compass, your guide through a complicated world. When someone keeps fogging up that compass, you have to ask why. Sometimes it's not that you're overreacting, it's that you're finally seeing through their game. You deserve to trust your own eyes, your own heart, your own instincts. And when someone keeps trying to convince you otherwise, it's not love or friendship, it's control. Protect your clarity like you would protect your home. Because once it's gone, you are living in a world they have built for you. And that world is designed to keep you small, quiet, and unsure. Your reality is yours. Don't let anyone rewrite it. They will tell you they are just being honest. They will wrap their words in the language of truth as if they are doing you a favor, as if their sharpness is a gift you should be grateful for. They will say things like, I'm only telling you this because I care, right before cutting you down in a way that leaves you smaller than before. The cruelty doesn't come dressed in obvious malice, it comes dressed in reason, even in concern. That is what makes it so insidious. You want to believe that honesty is always good, that people who tell it like it is are just brave enough to speak the truth others are afraid to voice. But there is a difference between truth and weaponized honesty. When someone uses the cover of honesty to wound, the truth is not their goal. Their goal is to diminish you, to keep you doubting yourself, to make you feel that you are somehow inadequate and will always be. They know that if they can convince you that these insults are just reality checks, you will start accepting them without question. You will start to believe that you are being oversensitive if you feel hurt, that you should be tougher, more able to handle the sting, and in that moment, they win. Because now you not only tolerate their cruelty, you rationalize it. The deepest danger here is how this kind of disguised cruelty seeps into your own self-talk. At first, you hear their words and feel the pain. But over time, you begin to repeat those same words to yourself. Their voice becomes your inner critic. You start looking in the mirror and seeing what they said was wrong with you, even if it never was. And because you think they are only being truthful, you stop defending yourself against it. You let the wound stay open. Real honesty is an act of care. It can be direct, yes, and sometimes even uncomfortable. But real honesty seeks to build, not break. It might challenge you, but it will also strengthen you. It will never leave you feeling worthless or small. The people who love you and respect you can tell you hard truths without stripping away your dignity. They can speak plainly without crushing your spirit. That is the difference. So when someone consistently cloaks their cruelty in the guise of honesty, pay attention to how you feel after you've been in their presence. If you leave their company feeling drained, humiliated, or less certain of your worth, that's not truth. That's harm wearing a mask. And if you begin to believe that this harm is somehow for your own good, you've already stepped into their trap. You do not owe anyone the right to chip away at you under the banner of honesty. You have the right to surround yourself with people who speak truth in ways that leave you stronger, not broken. Some people seem to come alive in the middle of conflict, not because they want resolution, but because they feed on the tension it creates, stir up arguments between friends, plant subtle doubts between colleagues, and whisper just enough into each ear to keep everyone uneasy. At first, it can be hard to spot because they rarely start a fire outright. Instead, they drop a spark here, a spark there, and stand back to watch it spread. They might frame it as concern, saying things like, I just thought you should know, or I'm only telling you this because I care about you, while planting seeds of mistrust. By the time you realize those seeds have grown into walls between people, they've already moved on to their next target. The goal is always the same: division. Because when people are united, when they trust one another and communicate openly, there is no room for manipulation to take root. But when they can create fractures, they can step into the middle as the one person who seems to have the full picture. They position themselves as the bridge, the one you have to rely on to understand what's going on. In reality, They are not the bridge. They are the architect of the very gap they claim to help you cross. The damage this causes isn't just in the immediate conflict, it's in the erosion of trust. Once trust between people is broken, even slightly, it can take years to rebuild. That's what makes this tactic so devastating. It doesn't just disrupt relationships in the moment. It leaves scars that can outlast the manipulator's presence. You might find yourself avoiding someone you once considered a friend, not because they hurt you directly, but because of a story you were told, a comment that planted doubt, a half-truth you never thought to question at the time. And here's where it becomes even more dangerous. In the fog of conflict, it's easy to mistake them for the person trying to help. They might seem calm while everyone else is upset. They might even offer to mediate or explain things to others. But their calm isn't kindness, it's control. They are at peace because the situation is going exactly the way they intended. The best defense is awareness. When you notice that one person's involvement consistently leaves people more divided than before, take a step back and look at the bigger picture. If conversations seem to shift depending on who is in the room, or if you find yourself repeatedly questioning the intentions of people you once trusted, ask yourself who benefits from that doubt. You will often find it is the same person who delivered it to you. You deserve to live and work in spaces where trust is built, not broken. Where conversations happen face to face, not through whispered filters. Division may give them power in the short term, but unity takes it away. And that unity begins the moment you stop letting them draw the lines between you and the people who matter. When someone does something wrong, truly wrong, there is a natural human expectation that they will own it. Not just with words, but with sincerity, with a willingness to face the discomfort of what they've caused. But for certain people, that step never comes. Instead, their apologies are polished performances, carefully constructed to sound convincing, yet hollow in their weight. They might say, "I'm sorry, but the next breath carries the poison, but you made me do it. But I was under so much stress, but you misunderstood." What seems like an admission is actually an escape route, a way to turn the spotlight away from their actions and onto you or the circumstances. Over time, this repeated evasion chips away at your own confidence in holding them accountable. You start to wonder if maybe you did provoke them, if perhaps the situation was more complicated than you remember. They are skilled at weaving excuses into the fabric of the conversation so subtly that you lose track of what was clear at the beginning. By the end, you may even feel as though you're the one who owes them an apology. This reversal of responsibility is one of the most disorienting forms of manipulation, because it doesn't just rewrite the story, it rewrites your role in it. The danger here is not only in the moment of the offense, but in the pattern it creates. If someone refuses to take true responsibility once, it can be a warning. If they refuse over and over, it becomes a way of life. And if you stay close to them, it becomes a way of life for you too. Because someone who never admits their part in harm will always find a way to place the burden on the people around them. It's not just about avoiding blame, it's about preserving a self-image at all costs, even if that cost is your dignity, your peace, or your truth. You may notice that their apologies feel more like performances than conversations. They might cry, speak softly, or act wounded, all in service of convincing you that they've been misunderstood rather than that they've done wrong. In those moments, you are not being offered closure. You are being offered confusion. They don't want resolution. They want absolution without change. And if you give it, they will take it as permission to repeat the same behavior, knowing the cycle will end the same way every time, with you carrying the weight they refuse to hold. Accountability is not about shame, it's about growth. When someone owns their actions, they create the possibility for repair, for trust to be rebuilt, for relationships to heal. Without it, there is only the illusion of peace, fragile and temporary. If you find yourself in the company of someone who never truly stands in the truth of what they've done, understand this. You are not required to carry both the wound and their denial. Responsibility is the bridge to real change, and if they won't step onto it, you can choose to walk away. There is a particular kind of harm that hides behind what seems at first to be vulnerability. Someone tells you a heartbreaking story about their past, painting themselves as the victim of endless cruelty, injustice, or misfortune. Your heart opens, your empathy flows, and you feel compelled to help them, to be the one who finally treats them with kindness. At first, it feels noble. You feel needed. You believe you're making a difference in someone's life. But for some people, this is not a bridge to connection. It is bait. They have learned how to turn compassion into a leash. They know that when they cry, your instinct will be to comfort. When they share pain, your instinct will be to care. They count on the fact that your decency will keep you from walking away, even when their behavior begins to hurt you. You'll hesitate to set boundaries because it feels cruel to add to their suffering. You'll tolerate things you never would from anyone else because you've been made to believe they are fragile, broken, unable to handle the consequences of their actions. What begins as kindness turns into captivity. The tragedy is that you don't realize you're in a trap until the cycle has repeated enough times to wear you down. They hurt you, but you excuse it because of what they've been through. They take more than they give, but you rationalize it because you think they can't help it. In the process, your own needs become secondary. Your own well-being negotiable. The relationship stops being mutual and becomes a one-way flow of energy, attention, and forgiveness. Always toward them, never toward you. This is not to say that empathy is wrong. Empathy is one of the most beautiful strengths a person can have. But without boundaries, empathy becomes a tool for manipulation in the hands of someone who sees it as an opportunity rather than a gift. The people who exploit empathy are not interested in healing. They are interested in maintaining a dynamic where they are excused from accountability. Their wounds become shields that protect them from having to change. It's important to recognize that helping someone does not mean allowing them to harm you. You can care without being consumed. You can be compassionate without being controlled. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is refuse to enable their worst patterns, no matter how convincing their story. This requires a kind of courage that feels cold in the moment, but is, in truth, an act of respect for both of you. When empathy is balanced with discernment, it becomes even more powerful. It allows you to see the pain in others without losing sight of your own worth. It keeps your heart open, but your life protected. And when you stop letting someone weaponize your compassion, you reclaim not just your boundaries, but your freedom. There is a strange and unsettling feeling that comes when someone accuses you of things you know in your bones you haven't done. At first, you think it's just a misunderstanding, so you explain yourself calmly. But they don't listen. Instead, they double down, repeating the accusation with such conviction that you begin to question how they could be so sure if it weren't true. Over time, you notice a pattern. What they accuse you of is often something you've seen them do themselves. If they have lied, they accuse you of dishonesty. If they have been selfish, they accuse you of only thinking of yourself. If they have manipulated, they accuse you of manipulation. This is not coincidence, this is projection, and it is one of the most deceptive tools of control. Projection works because it flips the narrative in an instant. It shifts the focus away from their actions and puts you on the defensive. Instead of holding them accountable, you find yourself scrambling to clear your name. The more energy you spend proving your innocence, the less you have to see the truth of what's actually happening. They know this. The accusation isn't about uncovering reality, it's about rewriting it. And if they repeat it often enough to you and to others, it can start to stick. Not because it's real, but because the story has been told so many times that it begins to feel plausible. What makes projection so damaging is that it attacks both your reputation and your self-trust. On the outside, it can isolate you from others who begin to wonder if there's some truth to what they're hearing. On the inside, it can make you question whether you might somehow be guilty without realizing it. Humans have an innate desire to be seen as good, honest, and trustworthy. So when someone paints you as the opposite, it can stir a deep and painful shame, even if you know logically that it's unfounded. The irony is that projection is often a confession in disguise. The traits they insist are yours are usually the very ones they are desperate to hide in themselves. By placing them on you, They get to avoid the discomfort of self-examination. They protect their ego by making you the scapegoat. And if you don't see the tactic for what it is, you will carry the weight of their flaws as though they were your own. The key is to resist getting trapped in the role they've assigned you. You do not have to absorb accusations that don't match your truth. Instead of spending all your energy defending yourself, step back and notice the pattern. Ask yourself why this person is so eager to convince you and others of something that doesn't align with your character. Often the answer will lead you back to them, not you. And once you see that, you can begin to release the guilt they've tried to place on your shoulders and return it to where it belongs. The most dangerous kind of harm is not the kind that strikes all at once, but the kind that seeps into your life so quietly you barely notice it's there. It doesn't arrive like a storm, it arrives like a slow leak. A drip you hardly hear until the floor beneath you is rotted. Being around certain people can feel like that. At first you don't see what's happening because there is no single moment of obvious destruction. Instead, there are countless small moments, words that diminish you, actions that unsettle you, silences that leave you questioning yourself. Over time, these moments accumulate, and little by little, the light inside you starts to dim. It can happen so subtly that you adjust to it without realizing. You become quieter, less confident, less eager to share your thoughts. You second-guess decisions you used to make with ease. You stop celebrating your own successes because somehow, in their presence, those successes seem smaller, less worthy. You might tell yourself you're just tired or going through a rough patch, but the truth is, you're being eroded. And erosion is one of the cruelest forms of harm because it disguises itself as nothing at all until one day you wake up and realize you barely recognize yourself. The people who cause this kind of slow damage are often skilled at appearing supportive. They might even offer help in ways that keep you tethered to them, checking in just enough to maintain the illusion of care while continuing to undermine you in subtle ways. They chip at your confidence, then position themselves as the one person you can lean on when you feel uncertain.
This creates a cycle where the very person draining your strength becomes the person you believe you need to get it back.
One of the clearest signs you are in this kind of dynamic is how you feel after spending time with them. Healthy connections leave you feeling energized, understood, and more yourself. But with them, you leave feeling smaller, weaker, more doubtful. You may find yourself rehearsing conversations in your head before you see them, preparing to defend your choices or avoid topics that could be turned against you. That's not connection. That's survival. Recognizing this pattern is the first step toward reclaiming your sense of self. It's not about waiting for them to admit what they're doing or hoping they will change. It's about noticing the cumulative effect of their presence on your spirit. When you start to see that your joy, your confidence, and your peace of mind are consistently lower after being with them, you are seeing the truth your heart has known for a while. You are not meant to live in a constant state of quiet depletion. You are meant to grow, to feel alive in your own skin, to stand firmly in who you are. And sometimes the only way to stop the erosion is to step away from the tide that's wearing you down. Your life, your mind, and your heart are treasures, yet too often we forget how easily they can be breached when we leave the gates wide open to the wrong people. We think that danger will always look obvious, that it will announce itself loudly, giving us time to prepare. But real danger, the kind that wounds us from the inside out, often arrives wearing a friendly face. That is why the practice of standing guard over your own life is not about paranoia. It is about wisdom. The people you allow closest to you will influence not just your days, but your sense of self, your energy, and even the way you see the world. Guarding yourself does not mean shutting yourself off from love or friendship. It means being deliberate about who you let close enough to touch the deepest parts of you. It means noticing patterns rather than being swayed only by words. Charm can be intoxicating, and the desire to believe in someone's goodness is deeply human. But if you give someone endless chances while their actions continue to harm you, you are no longer just hoping. They are teaching you exactly who they are, and you are choosing not to believe them. There is a cost to ignoring that truth. Every time you excuse a pattern of harm, you give away a little more of your peace. Every time you explain away something that cuts at your dignity, you tell yourself that your boundaries are negotiable. Over time, you begin to forget that you ever had right to demand respect in the first place. The erosion of self-respect doesn't happen in a single moment. It happens in small compromises. The ones you make because you're afraid of losing someone, even if keeping them means losing yourself. Standing guard is not about building walls so high that no one can reach you. It's about having the clarity to recognize who should be let inside. It's about listening to your instincts, even when you can't yet explain them in neat, logical terms. Your body often knows before your mind does when something is wrong. You feel it in the tightness in your chest, the heaviness in your stomach, the way you hesitate before answering a call or a message. Those signals are not inconveniences to ignore, they are warning bells. When you learn to trust those signals, you reclaim your power. You no longer wait for someone else to value your peace. You protect it yourself. And when you choose to walk away from someone who has shown you again and again that they cannot be trusted with your heart, you are not being cold or unforgiving. You are honoring the truth that your life is not a place for chaos to take root. Your peace is not a luxury. It is the foundation for everything you hope to build. And nothing, no matter how charming or familiar, is worth trading it away